There lived a man in the land of Uz named Job. He was blameless, upright, feared God, and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. His possessions included 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household. Job was the greatest of all the people of the East. His sons would take turns hosting feasts at their homes and would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When the days of feasting were over, Job would sanctify his children and offer burnt offerings for each of them, saying, "Perhaps my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Job did this regularly. One day the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan replied, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." The Lord said, "Have you considered my servant Job? There's no one on earth like him, blameless, upright, fearing God and shunning evil." Satan answered, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a hedge around him, his household, and all that he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike all he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord replied, "Very well. All that he has is in your power, but do not lay a hand on his person." Satan left the Lord's presence. One day, while Job's sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were feeding beside them when the Sabaeans attacked and took them away. They killed the servants with the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived and said, "The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I alone have escaped to tell you." Before he could finish, another messenger came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away. They killed the servants with the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." As this messenger spoke, yet another arrived and said, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine at their oldest brother's house when a great wind came from the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on the young people, and they are dead. I alone have escaped to tell you." Job stood up, tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground in worship. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. On another day, the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan replied, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." The Lord said, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him, blameless, upright, fearing God and shunning evil. He still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without cause." Satan answered, "Skin for skin. A man will give all he has for his life, but stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said, "Very well, he is in your hands, but you must spare his life." Satan left the Lord's presence and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Job took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself while he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." Job replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite heard about his troubles. They came from their homes to comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they barely recognized him. They wept aloud, tore their robes, and sprinkled dust on their heads. They sat with him on the ground for 7 days and nights, saying nothing, for they saw how great his suffering was. Job endured immense pain, but never spoke against the Lord, unlike his friends and wife. Later, the Lord said to Eliphaz, "I am angry with you and your 2 friends because you have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has. Now take 7 bulls and 7 rams, go to my servant Job, and offer a burnt offering for yourselves. Job will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer, and not deal with you according to your folly." Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar did as the Lord commanded, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. The Lord restored Job's fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. All his brothers, sisters, and acquaintances came to him, ate with him, and comforted him for all the trouble the Lord had brought upon him. Each gave him a piece of silver and a gold ring. The Lord blessed Job's later life more than his beginning. He had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He named the first daughter Jemimah, the second Keziah, and the third Keren Happuch. Nowhere in all the land were there found women as beautiful as Job's daughters, and their father granted them an inheritance along with their brothers. After this, Job lived 140 years and saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. Job died, old and full of days. Job's ultimate restoration shows that suffering is not the end of the story. God is a God of restoration and hope, capable of bringing blessings even after the darkest times. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.